entertained? Are you not entertained?
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're taking a closer look at the different varieties of gladiator common in ancient Rome.
Begin!
Samnites. Samnites were the first gladiators of Rome, appearing around the 4th century BCE. Their look was inspired by the warriors of Samnium, one of Rome's earliest enemies, beaten in the early days of the Republic. Samnite gladiators fought with a short sword called a gladius, crafted for thrusting and parrying, but not otherwise overly effective. They also carried a rectangular shield and would protect themselves with a greave and helmet. There was psychology at play here, with the Romans initially basing lesser gladiators on Samnium as a means of mockery. Relations did eventually warm between Samnium and Rome, however, causing the Samnite gladiator to eventually be superseded by other classes such as the secutor. Sagittarii. From the Latin word for archer, the Sagittarii were mounted bowmen. They were high-profile gladiators, a special act at any event, and were paid generously for their talents. Inspired by the people of ancient Parthia, a Sagittarius fought in elaborate mock battles, popular in Rome as a way of demonstrating its victories to the masses.
On this day, we reach back to hallowed antiquity to bring you a recreation of the second fall of mighty Carthage.
These battles would be against the Noxi, who were among the very lowest gladiator classes. Noxi were usually criminals or prisoners of war, almost certainly condemned to die. The Sagittarii wore light armor, geared for mobility and speed, which they needed because they often participated in staged hunts known as venationes. Here they were pitted against exotic animals, for one of the most infamous and brutal aspects of the gladiator games.
No one doubted that killing wild animals was a thoroughly civilized thing to do, but it was just the warm-up. The Roman crowds didn't just come to see ostriches and ibexes killed, they were waiting for the gladiators.
Tertiarius. The name Tertiarius comes from the Latin word meaning third, which reflects the unique role that these gladiators had as backup fighters. The Tertiarius only entered the arena under specific circumstances. They were a less common variety of gladiator, but were also often crucial. Whenever another gladiator was unable to continue a fight due to injury, exhaustion, or death, a Tertiarius would take their place as a substitute, ensuring the show would go on. As a result, they were likely to have been extremely versatile, capable of using a wide range of weapons and tactics. But despite their importance and skill, they were less prestigious than many others who fought within the arena. Catarius. These were a later addition to the roster of Roman gladiators, inspired by both Germanic and Parthian cavalry, and introduced under the rule of Hadrian between 117 and 138 AD. The Catarius were much more heavily armored than most others. To look at, they would have been a fearsome sight. However, their armor could also slow them down and hinder their movement. They generally faced more mobile, lesser armored opponents, such as the Retiarius, which was one of the most popular gladiator types of all, always equipped with a net and a trident to first entangle their opponent before launching an attack. By contrast, the Catarius fought with a long lance, a heavy two-handed weapon, bringing tremendous might and sheer brute force to the fight. Thracian. The Thracians were another who were lightly armored. They were inspired by the culture of Thrace, a region in southeast Europe comprising parts of modern-day Bulgaria, Turkey, and Greece. Their weapon of choice was a mid-length curved sword called a sika, which, when wielded with skill, could cause serious damage. Thracian helmets were brightly decorated with a tall crest and covered in feathers. On the ground, they were quick and agile fighters, and as a result were often paired against a heavily armored counterpart to create an intriguing fighter dynamic. A fast and tactical gladiator, such as a Thracian, against a strong and defensive one. The contrast made for a thrilling spectacle. Demochirus. Who needs one sika when you can have two? The name Demochirus derives from Greek to mean two swords, and that's exactly what these particular gladiators were famed for. They dual-wielded two blades, and as a result, didn't carry a shield. They were focused entirely on offense, which meant they were some of the most exciting fighters for Roman crowds to watch. Agility was essential, so they wore extremely light armor. They could parry with one sword and strike with the other, which required a high level of coordination and skill, not to mention immense stamina. Again, they were usually paired against more defensive gladiator types, but Ademochiros' best chance of escaping alive was to finish the fight as quickly as possible. Allow it to rumble for too long, and fatigue could be fatal. Female gladiators. Sometimes known as the Amazones, after the group of legendary warrior women from Greek mythology, and later as the gladiatrix. It's thought that it was quite rare for women to fight as gladiators, but we know for sure that some did.
But now, controversial new fighters are stepping into the arena. Women.
It's well documented by scholars during the reign of Nero and Domitian especially, before female fighters were eventually banned by Septimus Severus in approximately 200 AD. Details on the exact profile of female gladiators are scarce, but it's thought that many were wealthy Roman women who fought for the thrill of it. On the other hand, some may have also been ordered to fight by men to deliberately bring greater attention to a family. One distinctive trait is that it's thought female gladiators didn't wear helmets, perhaps purely as a way to show their femininity to the watching, baying crowds.
These girls are doing what Roman women were not supposed to do. They were bearing themselves in public. They were proving that they were strong.
Mirmilones. The Merillo was one of the most recognizable Roman gladiators, thanks to their heavy armor, iconic helmet, large shield, and formidable fighting style. Their helmets were decorated with a fish-shaped crest, with Merillo being an ancient word for fish. Mirmilones fought with a short sword and large shield. Close combat was their specialty, mixing powerful offense with a strong defense. They were another who often fought against the Rudy Arios, who again brandished a net and a trident to create something of a fish and fisherman narrative. The tiny holes in a Merillo's helmet were largely to fend off a trident to the eyes. To become a Merillo, you needed to undergo rigorous training, but there was a chance that this gladiator could one day win their freedom. Sagittarius. The Latin for pursuer or chaser is secutor, which reflects the fighting style of the Sagittarius. They, again, would usually be paired with the Rudiarii for an oft-repeated epic struggle between water, the Rudiarii, and fire, the Secutores, who symbolize the god of fire, Vulcan. Secutores would wear a full-faced helmet with a smooth top to make them less prone to getting caught in a net. Again, their helmet's eye holes were tiny to block the prongs of a trident. They also wore a breastplate, wielded a short sword in one hand, and carried a giant rectangular shield in the other. Most of the time, Secutores were originally slaves or prisoners, but they too could gain their freedom through heroic victories in the arena. Sometimes they even became Roman celebrities in their own right.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications.
Rudiarii. Incredibly, there were many gladiators who earned their freedom but continued to fight. These are the Rudiarii.
You won your freedom? A long time ago, the Emperor presented me with a Rudius. It's just a wooden sword. A symbol of your freedom.
The name derives from the word rudis, which refers to the symbolic wooden sword that a gladiator was given upon their release. Despite their newfound safety, however, a Rudiarios returned to the arena. As a result, they were usually huge fan favorites, and their matches carried more prestige than others. Rudiarios wasn't a class of gladiator in itself, but more a universal term for anyone who took this path.
Win the crowd, and you'll win your freedom.
The Rudiarii also had other options. They could train new gladiators, become a referee for future games, or just retire completely. All were respected, but the bravery of the returning fighter, their unmatched experience and skill, ensured that they were among the most highly respected of all. What's your verdict on the era of Roman gladiators? Are there any other areas of Roman society that you'd like to see us feature next? Let us know in the comments.
It is an art choosing gladiators.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.